remember standing in a room full of people, smiling and laughing, but I felt disconnected. I did what was expected of me, but not what was right for me. And then I realized peace isn't just comfort. And to find your peace, you have to work through chaos. And to sustain your happiness, you have to do what feels right for you and not for everyone else. Brene Brown once said, you either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. And this teaches us that the authenticity of our character could bring us to our peace, while hustling for our approval can lead us to our burnout. Now, happiness doesn't look the same for everyone. For some, it may be loud, traveling, achieving, performing. But for others, it's quiet, resting, feeling safe, and being left alone. Now, don't get me wrong. Both of those are fine. But because what fills one person up might just drain another. And the thing is, we can't sustain our happiness if we're chasing someone else's version of it. Now, mental health changes the happiness conversation. Because if you have anxiety or depression, happiness won't feel like joy. It will feel like relief. And sometimes protecting your happiness starts with finally catching a breath. Now, as we grow, happiness grows along with us. A teenager might want to fit in. A college student might chase a purpose. And a parent might just want quietness. But the truth is, we don't outgrow our happiness. We just keep redefining it. Now, privilege also shifts the happiness conversation. Because if you're worried about rent, food, or safety, happiness isn't a Pinterest board. It's survival. And sometimes, sustaining your happiness is just like that. Now, happiness doesn't mean perfection. It means protection. You need to protect what brings you back to yourself, but you don't need to make yourself happy all the time. Now we live in a world that says, be happy, but it brings us burnout, pressure, and guilt. And we're stuck between two messages. Why aren't you happier? And why are you resting where there's work to do? Now we scroll through highlight reels, chasing joy that isn't real. We check off goals thinking, then I'll feel happy. But the truth is, the more we chase it, the more it slips away. And we rarely talk about the quiet parts of happiness. The effort it takes to keep going when you're not okay. The fear of disappointing others by choosing peace over performance. Now listen, happiness doesn't erode in just overnight. It goes away bit by bit. And this happens when you ignore your needs. When you say yes when you mean no. And when you keep going when you need it to stop. But the shift is, happiness doesn't need to be chased. It needs to be protected. It needs to be reclaimed on your own terms. Now, for a long time, I wore a mask. Not a fake one, but a version of myself that felt easier to show. It came off cheerful, like the guy that could light up a room. And I believed it too, until I reached home, all alone. And in the quietness of my room, it reminded me of everything I had been pushing down. I became so good at being the light for others, I forgot how badly I needed that light for myself. And then something happened. Last year, October, I lost a friend due to a reckless choice encouraged by his peers. And I was heartbroken, but I was angry because I knew the kind of people he hung around with. And that moment changed me because I learned that I shouldn't hang around people that lead me into paths that I know I don't belong on. And especially paths that lead me into temporary happiness that only lasts for a second. And now that loss is a lesson. I protect my peace because I've seen what happens when we don't. Now, even after that, growth was not easy. There was someone else I cared about deeply. And I used them as a distraction from myself. And then I realized I had to let them go. It hurt, and I was isolated. But slowly, I started over, and I felt free. Even within that, it may have looked selfish. But to be a person where we're the most happiest, we cannot be chained down by others. And for those reasons, it's best to let go. And now I care for myself. I track my meals. I rest when I need to. And I stay present, especially around people who see me as the full me and not just the polished version. Now, we're taught to chase happiness like it's a prize. Get the grades, the approval, and the extracurriculars, and then we'll feel happy. But what if happiness isn't something you catch? It's something you come back to. Now, psychologists actually agree. Martin Seligman, a founder of positive psychology, researched that happiness isn't just feeling good, it's living life with meaning. And he defines that as PERMA. PERMA stands for positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. Now through PERMA, I learned something about myself, and I hope you will too. I learned that I used to chase something called hedonic happiness. For example, likes on a post, sugar in the sweet food I ate, or compliments on what I wore today, or even telling my mother I was going to do my work, but I really didn't. Now, I believe we all may have possibly fell victim to this version of happiness. Wouldn't you agree? Now you must be wondering, what do I chase now? I chase something called eudaimonic happiness. Eudaimonic happiness is something rooted in the growth and the challenges I face, the purpose and the goals I raised my ambition for, the authenticity of the character I created for myself and not for others. Now listen, it's not about the surface level highs. It's about becoming the person I can be proud of, even when no one is watching. And it's not about being okay. It's about finding peace in saying no, in rest, in laughter, because something's actually funny and I'm not trying to mask pain. Now maybe joy isn't a performance, and not a finish line either, but a home we build inside ourselves and one we remember to visit. Now listen, I can't tell you how to be happy, because believe it or not, the person who gives you the map is not the person you find your answers from, but the person you find the answers from is you. Because the person, that's always going to be the person that goes on the journey with you. So listen, defend your happiness, whatever it may mean for you, to choose the habits, the people, and the places that bring you peace, to stop apologizing for needing rest, and to stop shrinking down to fit someone else's version of success. Because happiness isn't a performance. It's a relationship you build with yourself. And when you choose to honor it, you say, I matter, my peace matters, and my joy is enough. Now, if we don't keep our happiness rooted in who we are, the world will pull us in every direction but home. And we'll keep performing for approval. We'll keep burning out to meet expectations. And we'll keep saying I'm fine when we're really not. And until we forget what our even real joy feels like. And that's the risk. Not just losing our happiness, but losing ourselves. Now, many of us think peace is what happens when the storm stops. But peace is what you choose in spite of the upheaval. You will be tested, pressured to fit in. And sometimes the most amount of pressure comes from yourself. You'll be tempted to chase the perfect life on a screen, but feels hollow when you're alone. And now, happiness isn't about looking like you have it all together. It's about being brave enough to ask, what do I need right now to feel like me? Because the people who free themselves from those bindings, they don't avoid the storm. They walk straight through it. And they find themselves at the eye of it, where the world goes quiet and they can hear their own voice again. So, safeguard your spirit, not because it's fragile, but because it's sacred. And when the world gets loud, come back to the eye of the storm. where your joy lives. Thank you.